Hi boys and girls, today we're going to be working on lesson 45. Now open your student book to lesson 45. Touch the first row in part 1. Let's see if you remember a meaning for each of those affixes. Touch the letters UN. What's one meaning of un? Not. Touch the letters RE. What's one meaning of re? Get ready. Again. Touch the letters LY. What's one meaning of Lee? Get ready. How something happened. Touch the letters DIS. What's one meaning of dis? Get ready. Not. What's another meaning of dis? Get ready. The opposite of. Now, touch the letters PRE in part 2. We should be looking at this part, boys and girls. Now, when those letters appear at the beginning of a word, they usually mean before. What does pre mean? Get ready. Before. Touch the first word in column A. First word. What word? Pretest. What does pretest mean? A test you take before you study something. Everybody touch the next word. What word? Preview. What does preview mean? Get ready. To view before. Everybody touch the next word. What word? Precaution. What does precaution mean? A caution you take before something happens. Everybody touch the next word. What word? Predetermine. What does predetermine mean? To determine something beforehand. Now listen. The words in column B also begin with pre. The meaning of pre in those words is not so easy to figure out. Touch the first word in column B. First word. What word? Prepare. Next word. What word? Prevent. Next word. What word? Preserve. Now let's go ahead and look at part 3, boys and girls. Touch the first word in part 3. First word. What's the underlined part? Ow. What word? Salted. Next word. What's the underlined part? What word? Survival. Next word. What's the underlined part? X. What word? Experienced. Next word. What's the underlined part? Un. What word? Unusual. Next word. What's the underlined part? What word? Certainly. Next word. What's the underlined part? Lee. What word? Suddenly. Let's look at part 4, boys and girls. We're going to talk about what those words mean. Word number 1. What word? Exceptionally. Exceptionally is another word for unusually. What's another way of saying the job is unusually easy? Get ready. The job is exceptionally easy. Touch word number 2. What word? Carnivorous. Carnivorous animals eat meat. Everybody, what does a carnivorous animal eat? Get ready. Meat. Let's go ahead and look at part 5, boys and girls. First word. What word? Particularly. Next word. What word? Company. Next word. What word? Solve. Next word. What word? Griping. Next word. What word? Hammock. Next word. What word? Stared. Next word. What word? Realize. Next word. What word? Started. Next word. What word? Comfortably. Next word. What word? Blankets. Next word. What word? Warmth. Next word. What word? Glanced. Next word. What word? Though. Next word. What word? Trimming. Next word. What word? That. Next word. What word? Neighbor. Now let's go ahead and look at part 6. The title of our story is A Changed Man. Now please follow along. I will start reading the story. Listen carefully. One evening, Bruce was lying in his hammock thinking. After he had thought about the island and the things that happened, he began to think about his home in the city and his job. He thought, people paid me to do my job because there was a demand for insurance. People wanted insurance. They paid for the insurance, but it takes a lot of money to run an insurance company. A lot of people must put in a lot of work to give people insurance. I helped people get insurance, so the people had to pay me for my work. Bruce thought about his home and his car. He said, most of the problems I had to solve were not problems of survival. I had to solve problems of comfort. I had a car, but I didn't need a car to live. I had air conditioning and other things. However, I didn't need those things to live. I needed them to be more comfortable. But you don't think about comfort until your survival problems are solved. All of my problems of survival had been solved. I had enough to eat. I had a house that was warm when the weather got cold. I had warm clothes, and I certainly had good water to drink. As Bruce lay there in his hammock, he began to wish that he was back in his home. He said to himself, if I were back there, I would look at things differently. I wouldn't be as grouchy. I would realize that my life was exceptionally easy. I didn't have to work 15 hours a day. On the island, I work 15 hours a day, and I'm happy. Maybe I would be happy in my old home if I worked more. Maybe I wouldn't try as hard to live comfortably. Maybe I would spend more time doing things and less time thinking about how bad things are. I probably made things worse by griping about how bad they were. The next morning, he woke up and rolled over. He ran his hand across his pillow and threw back the blankets before he opened his eyes. Then he noticed the hum of the air conditioner. He opened his eyes quickly and sat up. He was back in his home. It was quiet and clean. He sat there for a moment trying to figure out what happened. Then he ran to the telephone, dialed the operator, and asked her the date. She told him August 14th. What year? He asked. She told him the year, and then Bruce knew it was the same day that he had gone to the island. Perhaps the whole thing had been a strange dream. Bruce glanced out the window. A neighbor woman was trimming her bushes. Bruce waved and smiled. She waved back. It was all a crazy dream, Bruce said to himself, but I'm glad to be back. He ran to his dresser and opened it. He was thinking, I'm going to get dressed and go outside. I'm going to talk to my neighbors and walk around. Suddenly, he stopped and stared at something on the dresser. It was an axe made out of tree branch and a sharp rock. He picked it up and looked at it. It had initials scratched on the handle, BC. Bruce Selt, Bruce said to himself. This is my axe. I made it on the island. Bruce felt a little dizzy. Did it really happen, or was it a dream? After a minute, Bruce said, I guess I'll never know how it happened, but I'm glad it did happen. I found out a lot of things on the island. I found out a lot of people and why things are the way they are. And from that day on, Bruce was a changed man. First of all, he didn't hate his job. He always worked to do a better job, and he was no longer a grouch. People who knew him said that he was a good friend. He saw a lot of things about his city that he didn't like, but he didn't gripe about them. Instead, he did things to make them better. He followed his motto: we all need each other to solve our problems of life and our problems of comfort. Bruce knew that people must work together. He knew that everybody has a job, and that all jobs are important. Some people bring you food and water, some bring you warmth, and others help you live more comfortably. So boys and girls, after you finish watching my video, make sure you complete workbook lesson 45. I will send it to you in the chat box. And when you're done, go ahead and send me a picture of your assignment so I can post your grade. Have a great day, boys and girls.